It is December 2nd, 2021. We're here at the Pyle Center with Jane Neuheisel. I'm Michelle Hirsch. Welcome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being here. And we'd like to start at the beginning. When and where were you born?
It's a long time ago. I was born in La Crosse, Wisconsin, St. Anne's Hospital, in 1936.
Great.
And that's where I met my husband.
And
He
your
was born
husband's
there too.
And I
3 weeks later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And your husband's name is?
Richard, but he goes by Dick.
Excellent. When did you come to Tempe?
1963, coming out of the Army. Dick had served his time in the Army, and we came through here on our way back to Wisconsin, and he went up to ASU to visit friends, and Dean Overman offered him a job teaching in the College of Business. And I wasn't happy to go back to winter, to be honest. I said, well, let's try it for a year. And our parents were very disappointed because we had 2 children at that time.
Oh, you did?
And they wanted those babies home. But we decided to try it for a year, and we're still here. So.
And how long have you both been married? Or been married to each other, obviously?
It's 62 years.
Congratulations.
Last September, thank you.
And so tell us about your children.
Well, there are 4. The oldest is Rick. You may give their ages, or anyway, I have 3 daughters. We have 3 daughters. So Rick is the oldest, Nancy, Kate, and Deborah, and they all went through Curry School, Conley School, and McClintock. And Dick likes to say we have 4 children, and 3 are lawyers now, and 1's normal. She went to U of A, but she didn't pursue graduate work.
That's great. And do you have grandchildren?
We do. We have 9 grandchildren. 8 are boys. And we have 1 granddaughter. And they're all just wonderful.
Oh, fun. And are they all here locally?
None of them are here. Actually, Nancy's lives in Newport Beach, California. And there are 4 there, 3 boys and our granddaughter. And then Deb, the youngest, lives in Sacramento. On her way to Tennessee. They're moving to Tennessee. And she has 2 boys. And Rick has 3 boys. He's here part of the year. He'll be here December 12th, and he'll stay till football season. The rest of the time he's in New York. He works for CBS, and he does Sirius Radio, but he could do that anywhere. So he likes it here. He likes to play golf.
Well, those also sound like fun places to visit, to be able to go visit your kids and grandkids too. So we'd like to ask about the neighborhoods that you live in or lived in Tempe. So have you always lived in the same house, or?
Almost. We lived in Mesa the first year, and then we built a house on Loyola Drive. We were there 5 years, and then we bought, I think, the last lot or next to the last lot on Shalimar Golf Course, and we built a home. We're still there. We moved in the end of October, just before Halloween in 1969.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How has your neighborhood changed since you moved in?
Well, a lot of families, every house was full of kids. And so now the kids have grown up, and so it's quieter. But I see the trend that now the big houses, the older folks are moving out. Probably we should too, but can't quite get around to it. And younger families with children are moving in. It's nice.
I know there's a lot of really impressive and interesting things you've been involved with, but since you mentioned the golf course, why don't you tell us about your involvement with Shalimar Golf Club?
We bought the course in 1984, and so I became the first manager. I was there 18 years, and we had some good years. Then it became a little bit of a struggle because they kept building golf courses. There's over 200 golf courses just in Maricopa County. So, but anyway, we're still there. We have a rather steady group of supporters, and it's fun. It was fun. And then after that, we hired managers. So we're still there.
Did you golf too?
Well, that was the whole thing. We both golfed, and we thought, what fun it'd be to own a golf course. So then when you buy a golf course, you never have time.
You're working the whole time.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, we both golf, but we need to get back to it.
I'll back up just a little bit as far as asking, when you were in school, elementary, middle, high school, were you involved in extracurricular activities or?
You might say that.
Mm-hmm.
You might say that.
Yeah, tell us.
You know, there was no television. So
good point.
Well, we played in the street, we played at school, we had a skating rink in Viroqua, and I had skates, and you were there every night. We had a pool, so we swam every day. And then in high school, I was in everything. I was in the choir and the band. I was a cheerleader. I was on the yearbook staff. It was kind of funny, during football season, as a cheerleader, I had to change clothes at halftime and go play the drums in the band and then change back to being a cheerleader. That's what you get to do in a small town. And I kind of missed that for my kids because they were in a big high school and you kind of had to pick something to do. So, but it all worked out.
Did you have a job as a teenager or?
I had a job when I was a freshman
And what
at
did you
the
do?
local beauty shop.
Ah.
And I went after school and I swept the floor and I bagged up the wet towels and I put all the combs and brushes to their bath and I cleaned the mirrors and I got $3 a week. And I was a lifeguard after that, but one day a busload of soldiers from nearby Camp McCoy came, big guys. I'm 99 pounds sitting on the lifeguard chair. And I knew I could not save one of those guys if I needed to. So I didn't last long. I went and became a cashier at the local Kroger's. I didn't want that on my record. If I'm talking too much, you just
there's no
tell
such
me
thing.
I've got stories.
Yeah, it's delightful to hear those examples. And I was just going to ask if there were any stories with your children growing up in Tempe or excuse me, working at the golf course or in your neighborhood that you wanted to share?
About my kids?
Yeah, either about your kids
Well,
or...
we were kind of the neighborhood open house.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that because I was an only child.
Oh.
And I guess that was kind of the World War II thing. You know, the dad went off to the war, and by the time they came back, and then we were lucky he came back, but I think they didn't want to continue on with such a big space.
Mm-hmm.
So I was an only child with a lot of cousins, of course. And so I like that all the kids came, and we still get Mother's Day cards and Father's Day cards from a lot of the neighbor kids that found their way to our house. One of the Mulhorn boys would say, well, if we can't think of anything else to do tonight, let's go to Neuheisel's. Katie will make popcorn. Yeah, a lot of fun.
That is great. Do you have some thoughts about the city of Tempe, either recreation that you've enjoyed, restaurants, businesses?
Well, I've stayed here all these years.
Good point.
I don't think we're going anywhere. I think Tempe's a great place to live, and I think they do a nice job. I'll tell you something. I am now a member of a new thing called the Tempe Preservation Commission. And we're working to set up some guidelines for Tempe Butte and some other little properties around. And every meeting, they bring in some other phase of Tempe. Like, we have a guy now that his job is all the trees in Tempe.
Oh.
And it was so interesting. They've counted every tree. They know what every tree needs, what kind of tree it is, and it's just, I'm amazed at what the city does and how organized it is and how many things are happening. I'm very proud of Tempe.
Yeah, that's interesting and encouraging that our city is
I think it's in good hands.
Yeah. Has faith or spirituality played a role in your life?
Oh yes, I went to church every Sunday growing up. And I even started a meditation before school hour. I'm not quite that social about it now. I went to Grace Community when it opened and for a long time. And then when the kids left, we kind of we are not part of an organized church right now,
Mhm.
but we pray a lot.
Sometimes that's the case when you have family and kids, and it's good reasons to pray. Um, what are there any recreational or other community activities that you're involved in
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's my thing. I'm 85 years old now. I want to, my mission right now is to create more interest, support, and promotion and protection of Tempe Butte. I think it is a treasure, and I'm shocked that there aren't programs. I think every kid going to school in Tempe ought to have a hike up Tempe Butte, and that's part of this preservation thing. There are some Native Americans on there, and there's some land they want to keep sacred. They just don't want it to be Disneyland or anything like that. But I think we could do some education programs and some promotion programs, and I think as children grow up, they'll support the history, the legends. It's part of us. And the San Pablo Village at the foot of it, and ASU started there, and Hayden, Mr. Hayden started there and built his home across the street or across whatever it was, and became Monty's, and the history is just fascinating, and I think it should be shared with the children more.
And you're right, history is fascinating, but if we don't know about it, it's hard to support it.
Yeah.
So to have someone...
I never took my kids up Tempe Butte. But I would have,
Yeah, that's a great mission, and good to
you can
help
see
inform
everything
people.
up there. You can see the lake, which was the river, and of course the stacks are still there. And I suggested, and maybe somebody will listen someday, that could be a history room, and every winter visitor could go. It's not a whole museum, a history room that tells about the river and the mill, the flour mill, and they're still growing the original wheat. And there's still Hayden flour you can buy, and he's very interested. His name is Jeff Zimmerman. He bought all the rights to the Hayden flour recipes and seeds and all of that. So anyway, I've suggested that to a couple people at the city, but I'm going to keep suggesting.
Sometimes if you keep suggesting, somebody will finally listen.
Yeah,
but
that's my prayer.
It's very interesting to learn about. I've been here 40 plus years, and
You've ever been up there?
No.
Oh, go up. It's a
no,
hike.
I will.
It's a hike. I have, not as limber and strong as I once was, but you can make it. Take your time. I've organized 3 groups of scouts to clean. And the city's very cooperative. They furnish all the plastic bags and the little pinchers and pick up paper and pop cans and bottles and things. And then when your bag gets heavy, you just leave it there. And then the city comes along and takes care of it.
Terrific.
And it's a big help. And so those groups get to know a little bit about the Butte. But it's not an organized thing yet for the schools.
Mm-hmm. You have been involved in several organizations, so I'll mention them and prompt you to maybe share a little bit. And if I go out of order, you feel free to say, I'd rather talk about, something else first. But let's talk about Tempe Sister Cities and your involvement with that.
Well, that's been my life. Dick and I and Harry Mitchell kind of got together and put that program together in 1970 in December. And Harry's purpose was to provide an international experience for high school kids. And Dick was on the city council at that time, and he said, we got to bring the world to Tempe. We got to, let these kids know that the world doesn't end at Rural Road and this and that. So that was the original mission, was to provide a program for kids and families. And I think we've done that over the years. I know we left in 1918, I can't remember. Dick was president for 49 years.
Yeah.
But after his stroke, it was too hard. So those years, it was his vision for sure. And Tempe formed 11 sister city programs We have cities around the world.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I got 10 Thanksgiving greetings
From around the world?
From around the world, and one phone call. So,
well, most people that have been in Tempe for a short amount of time or a long amount of time know people that have participated.
There's 1,000 kids.
Wow.
And we raised all the money. You don't have to be a rich kid to go, but you do have to have a supportive family that will host your new brother or sister. And we started out at 6 weeks in the summer, which is a long time. And there were some movements over the years to shorten that, to make it a little easier on the families. And no, the kids said, by the time we got comfortable and started learning things, that was what, don't shorten it. So as far as I know, it's still 6 weeks. Of course, it all came to a halt with COVID.
Yeah.
So they're doing it virtually.
Yeah, but before COVID, students had an opportunity to come here from the sister city locations and learn all about Tempe. It wasn't just staying with the host families.
They're busy.
The work that you put in.
They have a whole summer committee that takes them places, has organized things, and they even have their own prom.
Oh.
Because kids in other countries don't have proms. So they wanted to show them that, give them that experience.
And the other benefit too is they get to know other people here and
each other.
Well, each other, that's true. And they stay lifelong friends with those people. I know people that are still in touch with their sister city brother and sister, and they're 40, 50 years old. So it's a wonderful program.
This is something I wear quite often. This is was made as a raise money for veterans, and there are 10 different sayings, but I chose this one. It was by Mother Teresa. If we do not have peace, it is because we have forgotten we belong to each other.
Wow, that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And what a wonderful contribution to have students go back and forth, learn about each other, feel connected, and care about each other. Exactly. And families too. I mean, I know families that have gone to where their students have gone to
the
visit.
families bond too.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So it's really wonderful what you've helped create here. Thank you for that. Let's talk about the historic Hackett House and your involvement with that.
That's my baby.
And what is it for those that don't know?
Well, it was Tempe's first bakery.
Oh.
And Mr. Hilge was the baker. And over the years, it became a family home, and then it got kind of run down. And I think I have to think what years these were, in the early 80s, let's say, there was federal money available for historic restoration. So Tempe jumped on that, and they shored it up. It was in bad shape. And then they asked for proposals. What are we going to do with this thing? And I think there were 4 different proposals. It was quite an elaborate thing, because I wrote the proposals of what we would do there, because it had to serve the community. And so luckily for us, we were chosen. And I remember the city council, was kind of nervous. I was giving this big presentation there. And they said, well, you can't do all that with volunteers. I said, I can't do it in 1 year. If you'll give me 2, I think we can. And they agreed. Wow. And we're still there since 1986.
That is really impressive.
And we've, all of our programs that we've developed there, the school trips, the cooking school, the Passport to Understanding.
Oh, and what is that?
Well, that's for kids 7 to 12, and they take a country, and they learn about where it is, what they speak, what they wear, some of their stories. They cook. They go in the kitchen and they cook some of their foods under supervision, of course. And they have lunch, and there's a program with maybe the music or the songs, and they go home with a notebook, and they do a craft. It's won a lot of awards.
Wow. And so Hackett House is located, I know it's in downtown Tempe near Mill Avenue.
It's on 4th Street, one block west.
Mm-hmm. And So there's all kinds of programs and,
It's been hindered a little bit with COVID,
yeah.
like, the tea parties, trying to do social distancing, and all of that's been hard, but it gradually coming back. They just did the big Nutcracker tea, they cooperate with the ASU Nutcracker performers.
Oh, okay.
And the kids and moms can come and have tea and meet some of the performers. And so, it's been a really wonderful, I think, service to the community, and other sister city programs have tried to copy it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Kids go on, it's in 4th grade, they get their field trip to Hackett House. And I remember Dick, as a lawyer, had a client that rode the bus from Glendale.
Because they wanted
and she had her son with her. And Dick's making conversation. He says, I bet you don't know where Timbuktu is. He said, oh, yes, I do, because when I went to school in Tempe, I was on this field trip, and they told us about all these cities around the world. One was Timbuktu.
Oh, wow.
So that was very gratifying.
Yeah.
He was about 10 by then.
Oh, wow. How about your involvement with Kiwanis of Tempe?
Well, I'm not involved with that, other than I've hosted 3 clubs at Shalimar. Dick is a member of the Kiwanis Club of Tempe, the original one, and has been. I think his 50th anniversary is coming up. Oh. And I help him occasionally on some of their projects. But, I was pretty tight. I was 22 years the director at Hackett House. It was a full-time job for me. Wow. And I was chairman of Oktoberfest for 10.
Yeah. So tell us what Oktoberfest is. It's a big deal in Tempe, but for people that don't know,
you see, we wanted to send all these kids overseas, and we needed a fundraiser, and we hadn't come up with one. And we were traveling in Germany. Well, actually, we made it over to Austria, and Dick is looking in this store window, and he said, "Look at those pretty dresses. I'll buy you one." And I said, well, I wouldn't have anywhere to wear it. It's a dirndl. And being from Wisconsin, we knew about Oktoberfest. I said, they wear them to Oktoberfest. And we looked at each other. Tempe didn't have an Oktoberfest. I don't think there might have been a couple small ones in the valley. So we came home and started Oktoberfest. And it grew and grew and grew.
And that was started in about what year?
73.
So all these years, it's continued. And
it was a one-day thing, and then it became a 3-day thing when I was chairman. That was fun. Cleaning Hayden Square till 5 in the morning, and and then getting up and doing it all over again.
You have had wonderful contributions to the community that we've talked about with Hackett House and Sister City and Oktoberfest. Is there anything that I'm leaving out that you'd want to add or share, whether it's events or special fond memories, a special story?
I was always busy. I was a member of Faculty Wives Club, and I was an officer in the Banner Health Auxiliary. I helped St. Luke's get their auxiliary started. These were kind of start-stop little things, but I was always busy. If they came to me and said, "I'll tell you one thing, I am proud of us. I was president of the PTO at Curry School, and so I'm thinking every kid's going to get a new bike at Christmas. So I invited the fire department. Would they come and do the licensing at the school? And they did, and I think every school copied that, and they're probably still doing it. Wow. So I thought, well, now that was a great idea. So anyway, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Are there some other memories related to your family life or your work life? Or
there's a lot of them. How much time do you have? Yeah. Rick was an athlete, and they won the state football championship when he was the quarterback.
So that was at McClintock?
Yeah. Carl Kiefer was the coach.
Exciting.
Yeah. It was, and my girls were all either pommies or cheerleaders, or we had a lot going on. And 3 of my kids went to UCLA. Rick was recruited by Terry Donahue, and the girls liked the atmosphere over there, so they talked us into going to school. We moved to Tempe. I was thinking how handy. We have ASU right here. We all go to school. Not one of them did. Nancy went down to U of A. And anyway, but lots of great memories. I wouldn't even know where to start and stop with all the Christmas caroling activities, just little things that grew. And
well, and you've really been able to make what I like to refer to as heart prints, just positive imprints in several places in Tempe.
I like to think so.
Yeah. Is there something related to work or family that you're particularly proud of that you haven't mentioned or that I haven't asked you about? I don't want to forget to ask you something that you might want to share.
I'm just very proud of my 4 kids, and they're all doing well, and they're all very good to us, call almost all the time, and that's what it's really all about. And I've got some great grandchildren.
How would you like to be remembered? What would you like people to?
Well, I'm a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Hardworking. Nice to everybody.
Yeah.
And a good mom.
Things. Oh, those are wonderful things. We open it up after I ask questions for anybody else to ask anything that they might think of as well. Dwayne?
So this is Dwayne Roan. You've talked about so many ways that you've been involved in Tempe. It's amazing. What advice would you give to people who want to get involved but don't know how to do it? Don't know where to get started?
Well, it's not hard to get involved if you have kids in school. They always need volunteers. I can't tell you how many field trips I went. So that's one way, and I think Tempe does a really good job of opening avenues to get involved. I think we could do a better job as far as volunteers at the Butte, volunteers at the park. I think families would love to get involved to go and do a cleanup of a park and things like that. So there's work to do. But anyway.
Thank you.
I think they can. In fact, I was just named a Tempe legend. Dick was a legend last year, and I was a legend this year. And then they wrote this story about me, and I'm like, ooh, I forgot I did all that. Yeah. So, but I think you have to go where your interest is, and you'll find a way to get involved. It's a great way to meet people and lifelong friends. Talk about it. I mean, I don't think Oktoberfest, it took 2,000 volunteers for a 3-day festival, each working 4 hours. Now some work 4 each day, or some, work longer. But if you did the math, it was 2,000 volunteers working 4 hours each. And so, you can't imagine how much work it was to stand over those hot grills when it's 100 and something outside. But they did it because they became friends and they became buddies. So if you'll do it, I'll do it. Yeah. And at the end, they're calling you. Where can I volunteer? Where do I sign up? So it was good.
That is fun. Anyone else, Bill?
Always. I'm interested in people. You were very active in the community and the things that were happening but there were other people involved in those at the same time. Personalities that are no longer with us. Fred Ackle, do you remember Fred Ackle?
A little bit. I wasn't too close to Fred, but okay. I remember Fred.
So there's those kinds of people that were also active with you and helped you. You know the name Buck Rogers at all from the Tempe Police Department? He was the liquor control guy. Okay, so
I try to stay on good terms with him.
I know he was the guy that was always the our Kiwanis Club and other Kiwanis clubs helped you with these
Oh, absolutely, especially
Oktoberfest. What were the kinds of interactions that you had with these other service organizations alongside of yours? Those are interesting to know. Who were the people that helped you in
Well, I'd have to say Harry Mitchell opened some doors for Sister Cities because he believed in it. And I'd have to say Gene Sears and all the people that were on the council at that time. Carol Smith, and down the road, we've always had good support from the city. In fact, when a new city councilman would get elected, the first thing I did was invite him to Hackenhouse. I want him to see all the programs and all the ways we're reaching out. So I didn't want to take it away from us.
I think that's a good point, really, in terms of how you were able to work with the council.
Exactly.
And the council had a structure, an infrastructure for you to be able to work with them.
Yeah.
So, can you remember some of the council members and council?
Well, at one time, all through the years, I don't know right now, but we were always proud that all 7 members were dues-paying members of Tempe Sister Cities. And I think Linda Spears was the one that dropped out. She was busy, so we missed on Linda. But anyway, she was supportive. I don't remember anybody ever not being supportive. They appreciated it, and it was all volunteer. It really wasn't costing anybody anything except the maintenance of those buildings, which was,
what kind of interaction did you have with the TD3, the Tempe Elementary School District? Did you have much interaction with them, or was it the high school kids?
Oh, no, from day one, the field trips and the teachers' helpers and baking cookies and.
Well, you mentioned Ralph Godia.
Yes.
Earlier.
Well, this is a true story. My daughter Deborah, the youngest one, was overlooked for Junior Honor Society, and it was because Debbie was the top student in the class. I wasn't even aware that she had been overlooked because the others were getting these invitations, and Debbie didn't know anything about it. Well, what's going on? Why isn't Debbie Neuheisel? Everybody knows she's so smart, as they say. So I checked in. What it was the teacher had sent a note home that every student should send their report card back in so she could record the grades. Well, I sent a note that said, Debbie's report card has gone to Wisconsin for her grandma to look at, so we can't do that. So I don't know if my Debbie forgot to give the teacher the note or was embarrassed or what, but she did get, and I was like, okay, so I think we went to a concert that night or went to a movie, something. I wasn't going to make a big deal out of it, but I didn't want it to happen to another kid. So I talked to Ralph. He said, come on over to the house.
And who was Ralph Godia? Describe who he was.
Ralph Godia was superintendent of elementary schools.
Yeah.
So I go over to the house. Alice and I were kind of buddies, worked on a couple of committees, so I knew the Goydias. But we really bonded over that when I told him the story, and I said, I think the responsibility is to the school. Somebody in the office to make copies of those grades, or the teacher to go in and make her own copies. I don't think it should be up to the kids. Because what if you're one of 6 kids, and it's chaos, and we don't know where that report card is? Or maybe somebody's sick, and it's just, we haven't got time to think about it right now. And so I didn't want a kid to get overlooked for that reason. So Ralph says, we're fixing it, and he did. So
that is a great
I went
story.
to school once for each of my children. That was Debbie's turn.
Well, there were you had plenty of interaction with these different groups, including the school districts. How about the high school district? What were the school boards like? You mentioned Michelle Helm.
I didn't have any really issues with high school. I just know Michelle, and I know she was chairman or president, whatever the title is, of the high schools for many years, and was elected over and over. I think it's a hard job because budget concerns and other parents and what they're going through right now with the vaccine. It's volunteer. So only in America would that happen.
How about people like George Sanchez? Did you ever have much interaction with him?
Is he the eye doctor?
He was the optometrist, yes.
No,
Okay.
I didn't.
He was on the school board for many, many years.
Yes, I just know him by reputation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, those are the kinds of things I think that it's good to flesh out because you were involved with people that were making decisions in the city for a lot of different. But
like
here,
all
okay,
my
so-
girls were pommies, so I'd work with that director if they needed to do a fundraiser or sell candy or do something.
Well,
but
you
as
still
far as-
operate the Shalimar restaurant and bar there, and that has kind of been a central place for high school classes to have reunions.
Yeah.
And you open that, you seem to have a,
They still do.
yeah, the trend is for you to interact with those old high school classes.
Yeah.
And the people, do they book that through you or through Jane?
Well, we have a banquet manager,
Jane,
catering manager that does all that. It used to be through me, but
yeah.
yeah, it got pretty busy. If you really think about it, there aren't that many places in Tempe to have a wedding, or if you want to serve alcohol, there's licenses involved, and they're expensive if you go to a hotel or whatever. And if you go to the church, usually there's no alcohol. So it's a decision that they have to make. And I think Shalimar gives a good package for dollar. So that's why we've probably been successful over the years.
Yeah, there are very few places to have a meeting room separate from the general population. You can have a meeting in Denny's, but you're sharing the time with. But the Shalimar
Yeah,
has,
we have a lot of groups that just have board meetings there or
Yes.
something. We kind of hope they buy a beer or something while they're there, but if they don't, it's okay.
and you leave space there for them to store their things.
Yeah.
In their closet.
Well, that one club does.
Yeah.
Well, both Kiwanis clubs store their things
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
So we help out all we can.
Well, in many, many ways. It's, like I said, it's really impressive and inspiring
It's
to
been
hear all the
my
ways.
journey, and it's been my pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much.
thank you
Yeah.
so much.
We're done?
We are.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.